Hey guys, how's it going? Master Cal here, and today I'm going to be doing the 13th video from my 2021 NFL offseason recap series, the Los Angeles Chargers. So the Chargers will hope that a new coaching staff will help overcome a lot of the issues they had last year, specifically blowing late leads and also on special teams. And they'll hope for continued development from Justin Herbert in year two, even though he's going to have to learn a new system. So the Chargers did end up firing Anthony Lynn after the end of the season. It took them a day or two, I think, to decide, but they wound up pulling the trigger. Lynn was criticized for lack of adjustments, also poor timeout management, especially late in games. And also the Chargers special teams has historically been among the worst in the league as far as giving up returns, giving up blocked punts and kicks, and also kickers missing key field goals late in games. Replacing Anthony Lynn is going to be head coach Brandon Staley. He comes over from the Los Angeles Rams. He was their defensive coordinator. And Staley went from being just a position coach in 2019 under Vic Fangio at the Denver Broncos, now to a defensive coordinator for 1 year, and then to a head coaching gig as he oversaw what was one of the best defenses in the league last year in the Rams, led by Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, obviously. But he got a lot out of some young players that hadn't really had much success in the league before, with guys like Darius Williams, for example, turned into one of the better nickel corners in the league. Leonard Floyd, a first-round bust of the Bears, had a breakout year. So it's a meteoric rise for Staley, and we'll see how the young defensive mind does in trying to fix the Chargers' defense, especially in those late situational games. He brought in Joe Lombardi, the New Orleans Saints quarterbacks coach, to be the offensive coordinator of the Chargers, and he replaces Shane Steichen, who is now the Eagles' offensive coordinator. So Lombardi, obviously, his work with Drew Brees and whatnot, and we'll see what he does with Herbert and Herbert adjusting to the new system. And defensive coordinator, Staley brought over a face that he likely knows, Ronaldo Hill. He was the DB's coach for the Denver Broncos, so he's got connections with the Vic Fangio tree in there as well. So the free agents the Chargers retained, cornerback Michael Davis was re-signed to a 3-year deal, $25.2 million. $15 million of it is guaranteed, $10 million of that is fully guaranteed at signing. And Davis has been pretty solid for them as their number 2 corner last year, although this year he'll be stepping into the cornerback 1 role. Restricted free agent kicker Michael Badgley was brought back on a 1-year deal worth $1.1 million. The Chargers thought they'd solidified the kicking position with him after he had a pretty solid 2018 season, although unfortunately 2019 he missed a lot of time due to injury, and he wasn't that great last year either. So, and he'll now have to compete in order to try to be the kicker for LA this year. Restricted free agent corner Brandon Staley was brought back on a 1-year deal worth $945,000. Restricted free agent tight end Steven Anderson was re-signed to a 1-year deal worth $920,000. Punter Ty Long was brought back as an exclusive rights free agent on a 1-year deal worth $850K. Long actually was the Chargers' emergency kicker early on in the 2019 season when Badgley was injured. Cornerback Tavon Campbell was brought back as an exclusive rights free agent on a 1-year deal worth $850,000, and also offensive lineman Tyree St. Louis was brought back as an exclusive rights free agent on a 1-year deal worth $780,000. For their free agent additions, they signed former Packers center Corey Linsley to a 5-year deal worth $62.5 million. $26 million of it is guaranteed, $17 million fully guaranteed at signing. Linsley was, according to PFF, the best center in the league last year for the Packers, so a pretty well-deserved contract as he'll come over and provide some help in both the protection and the run game. They signed former Steelers left guard Matt Filer to a 3-year deal worth $21 million. $14.5 million of it is guaranteed, $13 million guaranteed at signing. Filer moved from right tackle to left guard this year for the Steelers and did pretty solid, and now gets a nice contract to be the Chargers' everyday left guard. Tight end Jared Cook, veteran who's been around a lot of places in his time in the league, signed a 1-year deal worth $4.5 million. It's fully guaranteed. He spent the past couple of years with the Saints, so he does know the system that Lombardi's going to be implementing, and he can still play well. Guard Ode Abushi signed a one-year deal worth $1.6 million, fully guaranteed. He spent the past 2 years with the Lions. He started 10 games for them over those 2 years, including 8 last year, so he could definitely be in the mix to start for the Chargers. Edge rusher Kyler Fackrell signed a one-year deal worth $1.5 million, $500,000 guaranteed. He spent last year with the New York Giants after 4 years with the Packers. His best season was in 2018 with the Packers, but since then he's been more of a solid rotational piece, as that 1 year seems to be a bit of an anomaly. They signed former Buccaneers corner Ryan Smith also to a one-year deal worth $1.5 million with $500,000 guaranteed. He's a special teamer for the most part. Kicker Tristan Vizcaino, who's been on and off training camp rosters and practice squads, signed a 2-year deal worth just under $1.5 million. They added veteran backup quarterback Chase Daniel on a one-year deal worth $1.075 million after he was released by the Lions. Daniel is also a former Saint back in the day, so he also knows the system, and he'll be a good mentor for Herbert in year 2. They signed defensive tackle Christian Covington to a one-year deal worth $990,000. He spent last year with the Bengals after being acquired in a small trade with the Denver Broncos, and he got a lot of starts in there for them because of injuries to Geno Atkins and DJ Reader, so he'll have some depth to the Chargers front. And a couple of waiver claims, cornerback Keemon Hall from the Dallas Cowboys. This will be Hall's second stint with the team, as he was actually with the Chargers back in 2019. And receiver Austin Proehl was claimed from the 49ers. The Chargers had only 2 notable veteran cuts. Starting right guard Trey Turner, who they had acquired in a trade with the Carolina Panthers last offseason for Russell Okung, was released. And that trade wound up not working out for either side, as both Okung and Turner both struggled with injuries with their new teams. And Turner, when he was healthy, was nowhere near the 5-time Pro Bowler that he was in Carolina. He was probably hampered by those injuries and also not having a full offseason to kind of gel and learn the new system may have played a factor as well. He wound up playing in just 9 games, and so the Chargers freed up a lot of cap space by cutting him, and he signed a one-year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And also number 1 corner Casey Hayward was released, so his Chargers tenure comes to an end, as he was one of their better free agent signings after he came over from the Packers. I think that was like in 2015 or 2016. He did start to show some signs of decline last year as he gets older and also was dinged up by some injuries. He signed a one-year deal with the Las Vegas Raiders, and he'll reunite with Gus Bradley, who was fired as the Chargers defensive coordinator this year, but he's now the DC for the division rival Raiders. Now on to their free agent losses. Safety Rayshawn Jenkins signed a 5-year deal with the Jaguars. Tight end Hunter Henry, who the Chargers opted not to franchise tag again this offseason, signed a 3-year deal with the New England Patriots. Edge rusher Melvin Ingram signed a 1-year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers, coming off a bit of a down year. Linebacker Denzel Perryman signed a 2-year deal with the Panthers. Quarterback Tyrod Taylor signed a 1-year deal with the Houston Texans, and he'll be competing for the starting job there with what's gone on with Deshaun Watson and his legal situation. Left tackle Sam Tevi signed a 1-year deal with the Colts. Center Dan Feeney signed a 1-year deal with the New York Jets. Defensive tackle Damian Square signed with the Browns. Guard center Forrest Lamp signed with the Bills. And linebacker Nick Vigil signed with the Minnesota Vikings. Center Mike Pouncey, who missed most of the last 2 years due to injury, elected to retire. They non-tendered 5 restricted free agents: edge rusher Isaac Rochelle, running back Kalen Ballage, linebacker Malik Jefferson, offensive lineman Cole Toner, and linebacker B.J. Bello. Rochelle and Jefferson both signed with the Colts. Ballage signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ballage got a lot of starting time for them last year because of injuries to their running back room. Bello signed with the Titans, and Toner signed with the Texans. Rochelle is the most notable name of that bunch, given that he's had some starting time, but with the Chargers doing a scheme change, he's not really a fit for Brandon Staley's defense. And their unsigned free agents are tight end Virgil Green, who's coming off of an Achilles injury. Safeties Jalen Watkins and Jaleel Adai. Both of them wound up coming back to the Chargers this year. Watkins had left in free agency in 2020 for the Texans, but was released at final cuts. And then Adai, the Chargers released him in 2019, and the Chargers wound up bringing him back in 2020 after some stints with other teams. And also guard Ryan Groy is unsigned. LA did not make any trades at all this offseason. And now for their draft picks. With their first-round pick, 13th overall, they took Northwestern tackle Rashawn Slater, and he profiles to be their starting left tackle immediately. If he doesn't work out as a left tackle, however, because the one knock on him is he does have smaller arms for a tackle, a lot of people peg him to be an elite guard at the NFL level. But for the time being, the Chargers will see how he does at left tackle, and the early reports seem to be that he's faring well. They took Florida State corner Asante Samuel Jr. with the 15th pick in the second round. So Samuel's father had an interception against the Chargers when he was with the Patriots. I think it was back in 2006 in the NFC Championship game. And now Samuel Jr. gets to play for the Chargers. They took Tennessee receiver Josh Palmer with the 13th pick in the third round. With the compensatory third rounder they got for losing Phillip Rivers in free agency last year, they took tight end Trey McKitty. In the fourth round, they took edge rusher Chris Rumph II. With the 15th pick in the fifth round, they took tackle Brandon James. With the first pick in the sixth round, which was the sixth rounder they had acquired from the Tennessee Titans when they traded Desmond King to Tennessee during the 2020 season, they took linebacker Nick Niemann. With the 14th pick in the sixth round, they took running back Larry Roundtree III. And with the 13th pick in the seventh round, they took safety Mark Webb. Chargers did not sign any players to extensions. As far as injuries go, receiver John Hurst, who is one of their future signings, is currently on the active physically unable to perform list, however, with an undisclosed injury, so we don't know exactly what that is. So my thoughts on the Chargers offseason. I thought the Chargers did a pretty solid job. I mentioned during my offseason preview series that I would have honestly given Anthony Lynn one more shot. You have Herbert kind of as the full-time starter now. You add some reinforcements. You see if Lynn can fix the issues that he had. And the biggest argument I had was that so Herbert didn't have to learn a completely new system in year two. But the Chargers did make the change from Lynn to Staley, and we'll see how that works out. And we'll see how Herbert does. Herbert was very, very good on third downs last year, which is probably unsustainable. He was also very good against pressure. However, there's some positive regression you can expect because the Chargers were because he didn't do as well on first and second downs. And part of that was likely due to the offensive line being below average and also the injuries they had in the running back room. Now with the running backs being healthy again, and also with the Chargers completely overhauling the O-line this offseason, you can definitely expect that to be better there. So, the positions of need I mentioned for the Chargers, I said left tackle, which the Chargers got with Rashawn Slater. Interior O-line, yes, that was definitely addressed with Lindsley and Filer and also Abushi. I said tight end, which they somewhat addressed with Jared Cook. He is pretty up there in age, but he can still play, as mentioned before. And then McKitty's kind of a project, given he didn't have the most productive college season. So all in all, it definitely is a downgrade from losing Hunter Henry. Defensive tackle I mentioned, which it wound up not being as big of a need given that the Chargers are switching to a new defensive scheme. They did add Christian Covington. And then cornerback, that was addressed. They re-signed Davis and also added Samuel in the draft. And then I mentioned kicker and linebacker as kind of secondary needs. The Chargers actually right now have 3 kickers on their training camp roster between Badgley, Vizcaino, and they have an undrafted rookie as well. So we'll see if one of them can wind up becoming the guy for them and finally show some consistency there. And then as far as linebacker goes, again, because of the scheme change, that kind of made it less of a need for them. So I'm just gonna kind of skip that one. So overall, I'm gonna give the Chargers a B- of an offseason. The O line was one of their biggest weaknesses last year, and that was and them doing a good job to overhaul and protect Herbert was a really smart move. And they do have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball, so it wasn't like they didn't have a ton of needs. It definitely is disappointing to move on from Henry, especially now that you have a quarterback on a rookie deal. And in all honesty, aside from the offensive line, the Chargers didn't really do a whole lot in upgrading the roster. And it sounds like they're banking on Staley being able to fix the late game defense and the special teams, which if they can, the Chargers will be a very dangerous team. They'll have a third place schedule, and even in a very deep AFC, they should be able to make some noise. I think that they should definitely be able to be second place in the AFC West behind the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think they'll definitely be a wild card contender this year. So now the Chargers' projected starters. It'll be Herbert, obviously, at quarterback, Austin Eckler at running back, Slater at left tackle, Filer at left guard, Lindsley at center. Right guard, I believe, will be a competition. Ibushi is one candidate to start there, but so is Scott Quessenberry and also maybe Tyree St. Louis. Brian Bulaga will return at right tackle, the only returning starter from last year. Wide receiver, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams return as the 1 and the 2 for them. Number 3, I believe Palmer will have a shot to win the wide receiver 3 job, although they still have Jalen Guyton, their receiver 3 from last year. Cook will start at tight end. On the defensive side of the ball, it'll be Jerry Tillery, Linval Joseph, and Justin Jones on the defensive line. Joey Bosa off the edge, Kenneth Murray at middle linebacker. The other middle linebacker, I think, will be a competition between Kaiser White and Drew Tranquil. And then their other edge rusher, I believe, will be a competition between Uchenna and Wosu and Fackrell. Cornerback, Davis will be the 1. I think Chris Harris Jr. will move to the outside, and they'll start Asante Samuel Jr. right away in the slot. And then safety will be Derwin James, who's hoping to stay healthy after missing most of the last 2 years due to injuries, including all of last year. And then Nasir Adderley, who broke out as a pretty good starter for them last year after not a very good rookie season in 2019. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for the next off-season recap video.